I'll start that recording. And then do you want, what I found works best in the virtual sessions is if you like music, it's actually better if you have something there to play because the sound is better for you. You can get the right loudness, etc. Versus I've tried like streaming it on my end and then it'll compete with my voice and it breaks
Right.
up. So
yeah, that's what I found too. So
okay.
yeah, I don't really need it, so it's good.
Okay, cool. Then I wanted to go over your questions and then to tell you how I do it is as we're going through, so I'll take you into hypnosis, we'll sort of dive in with your questions, and then if I'm getting anything intuitively, my own, like guides asking questions, prompting questions that would go deeper into what you're experiencing, or if I'm getting any info, if it's a question, I'll hold it till it's appropriate to, ask you. If it's info, I just write it down and then I just share it with you at the end so I don't interrupt your flow or influence your flow. And then what I wanted to do is I was going to bring up on my phone your questions or your comments from that. I emailed them to myself so I could see them here.
Okay.
Okay. Those up. Okay. So you live in Reno now?
No, in Lake Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe? Okay. I love that area.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Okay. So Secret Space Program. Is there anything that you think is helpful for me to know about that? Like, are you getting flashes of this as like, or you've been getting it or knowing it about past life, parallel life, future life? That was one thing I had that would help me sort of get more clarity.
So excuse me. So my understanding is that they'll take your consciousness and they'll train you on the other side. So somehow they do like a avatar body type thing, and it's very similar to a current life, and then you're basically living that life, and then you reach a point like within 20 years or so. It can be earlier for some people. They can opt out. Then they ask you, are you ready to go back? With this consciousness will wipe you, because you're basically connected somehow, and I don't understand that process, to your current incarnation here on Earth. Okay. So they give you that option after around 20 years, because I guess it's some kind of level where they've learned that you can handle that information, and up to that point, you usually want to come back. So I've opted to continue on several cycles. So I feel, that I'm on my third cycle right now and about ready to do a fourth, actually. They can keep from what I know, I mean, we can go into this, during the questions, but I don't want to go too deep into it yet. But.
Well, I think it's interesting, like if you ever wanted to share bits and pieces of this recording, I think it's, it could be interesting for people who are just popping in and they don't have the full awareness, so some of the things I'm asking, I feel like other people might ask or wonder.
Oh, yeah, definitely go down that road. Because that's kind of the way I see it too. It's, you're going to help me unlock a lot of things like you did when we had our first sessions with past life regression. So that completely opened me up, and I was able to actually explore that and open those avenues of consciousness on my own after that. So that was fantastic. So I perceive that we have come together again to do this on this consciousness level, and that's going to help humanity, just like I did with that information.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely feel that. Okay, yeah, and this whole concept, I mean, this is mind-blowing. Nobody's talking about it, Michael, about the separate consciousness. And I think what that would explain for a lot of people is this thing that people hear about, but they don't really understand how it could be possible, is the parallel lives, or
Right.
overlapping lives. And so I think that that's something I really want to kind of explore with you. So I feel like that's really leading edge, kind of cutting edge thought.
Excellent.
So I want to dive into that.
Good.
And let's see, training, level of experience, alien races with weapon systems, fighting. Yes, all that's consciousness levels. Yeah, that's going to be really like fascinating. The memories. Why are we keeping it a secret? Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So there was one other thing. My body type, what my body type is. I think people might be curious about that, tell me a little bit about that.
So what I'm getting from that is they can advance or accelerate your growth. So I remember coming in as very young and being accelerated in my growth, and then actually reaching levels where my body type is well over 6 feet, almost 7 feet tall, super muscular, being able to handle more stuff. I have memories of actually dying in combat several times, and if they can bring you back within a certain time frame, they can regenerate you, and then basically your consciousness will come back in and you'll just continue on with the life. But if they completely obliterate you, it's just,
yeah,
they somehow can, without harming your consciousness back here on Earth, reinsert your consciousness. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but that does happen. So guys become, completely obliterated, in a huge explosion. But if they do have pieces of your body left, they can bring it back. At least some of the brain, if some of the brain is left, they can bring it back and put you in a tank and completely regenerate your body. So that's some of the memories I have. So I have memories of dying several times in combat, but it's like no big deal. There's people like you there, and you may even be in that program as well. I believe you are, where you help people, because there's obviously trauma, and you help people overcome that trauma, or someone helps people overcome that trauma, and they get back to fully capable of going back into combat, or whatever they're involved in.
Yeah.
Because everyone there is trained in combat, because we're always, there's always that possibility. It's kind of like, Star Trek type stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. So can we just pause on this again, because I feel like people are going to be watching this. First of all, how much our everyday life here in the 21st century is preparing us for this, because my son plays video games, and what happens? You die and then you regenerate, and yet he's the one playing the game. He's the one operating the avatar. So he has the knowledge to step in and play that game the second time and play it better, even though he has a new body. So it's like, oh my God, the parallels there are just blowing my mind right now,
Right. Yeah.
So they're preparing us for that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'd like to,
from my consciousness there, I get bits of it here. I mean, you and I are probably looking at stuff now and going, this is so lame, let's move this forward, in the consciousness realm. You guys quit your games, and continue. And it's really that way, and I really want to explore that. The consciousness level is on a different level up there. I think they're already, working in 5D dimensional consciousness and above. So that'll be interesting if we can explore that.
Yeah. And yes, as a side note, I remember, I don't know if you recall, but when you did when you did your intensives for past life regression in the last several hundred thousands of years here on Earth, one of the most powerful moments I had in that experience with you was that I was in one of the past lives, and you were a warrior, and you came to see me to ask. I was like a Celtic seer,
Right.
and you came to ask me, you know, would I die in battle? And I told you yes. And I literally cried in that. I don't know if you knew, but I cried in that session because I felt so bad about telling you that you were going to die. And I'll never forget what you said. You said, no, it was good that you told me that because I was prepared.
Yeah, that was making me cry now too. So.
Oh my God. Like, I will never forget that. Like, that was just like, boom. I knew in that moment that you and I were in the same soul group together.
Yeah.
Because that was so, it was just transformative for me. And that's the beauty of this work, is like, that's how it works. We both,
Yeah.
you know, so when you say that I'm there and I've probably part of that, I totally resonate with that. We won't get sidetracked with it, but I would say in that life and those types of incarnations, I'm a push. If you ever saw the movie Push,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do in this life. You know, it's all benevolently intended, but I push, you know, not in this is more exploratory, but if someone's coming for smoking or weight loss or sports, I'm helping them to hold the mindset that they need and overcoming trauma. So, but yeah, so I feel very honored to do this work again, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. If you do need to take a break or anything, you know, I've blocked off for, you know, 4 hours here. So if you need to take a break, or you'll let me know when you feel like it's finished.
Okay.
But, and if we need to break it out in segments, we can. I think I'm just going to fill up my water and then we can start. Okay.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay, Michael, when you're ready, just go ahead and close your eyes. We're just going to set the intention that all information that comes through be for your highest good, my highest good, and for the good of all involved, and for the good of all who receive this information afterwards.
Yes.
And so because we've been having this discussion, I invite you to first just kind of drop down out of your head into that big warrior heart of yours. Just drop down into your heart. Just breathe in at the heart level. And then I invite you to imagine that the room around you is filled with a color, which is a light, which is a vibratory rate, a frequency. And the frequency that you invite in today is a color, which you may already see it, but a color that will assist you in having clarity of purpose and information that comes through today. And we've established some general questions and an outline of exploration. We're also going to ask that whatever comes in today is most pertinent for you to know, for your soul to know, for advancement, for yourself, and for your higher purpose at this time. And then when I mention that color, again, what color comes to mind for you?
Like a gold and silver mix.
Okay. Beautiful. Gold and silver, divine masculine and divine feminine. How appropriate. Oh, so invite this beautiful gold and silver to surround you, to fill this room, to fill the space between us, in the fifth dimension. And it's just filling every crack and crevice in the room, flowing around the furniture, circulating around your physical body and through your aura. And imagine you're going to pull that gold and silver light down in through your crown chakra. And as you do, it just flows in like a wave from above, down below, through your crown chakra, through the brain. And imagine this beautiful gold and silver light, like waves or pulses, flowing through the brain stem, down through the spine. And that beautiful, etheric, divine, feminine, masculine gold and silver is just radiating down through all the neuron pathways, through the neck and the shoulders, down the arms. And as it flows to the vital organs, your whole body just has this sense it's okay to rest. It's okay to just be and receive this light. You give so much to others. And just for the next few moments, time, space, let yourself receive this beautiful, loving, even healing light, nourishing you, supporting you. And that golden light flowing down through the hips and all the neuron pathways in the legs. And then wave after wave of this beautiful energy, this loving, all-knowing energy is flowing through the cells, bathing every cell in your body in this gold and silver. And as it does, it's like the veil that we agree to when we come into these human physical incarnations is beginning to melt away in such a way where you have full access to your entire Akashic records. And that is past lives, parallel lives, future lives as we understand them. Although they say everything is happening at once. So you're having this beautiful energy just dissolve any barriers between you and all knowledge, all knowing. And it's as if the moment I ask a question on your behalf, or you ask a question out loud or mentally, that information is queued up for you, it's there, it's available, and it will come to you in clarity of form, of thoughts, ideas that are easy to comprehend and understand. as if whatever limitations were put upon your mind for functioning in this 3D world can be temporarily put aside, where you step into all knowing, where you have all the answers. And as this occurs, you may notice that your physical body begins to simulate something that feels like sleep, where all the muscles in the face relax. Where any tension in the neck, the shoulders releases and drops away. And as it does, this wave of relaxation flows from the shoulders down the arms. Tension releasing from the biceps and the triceps. Down to the forearms and the hands. And as it does, more and more of your consciousness gathers in your third eye. So that normal everyday consciousness in the body is not necessary in this safe place where your body can rest, almost like sleep, like sleep. And then that golden light flows through all your vital organs, just getting this wonderful treat of energy and healing and restoration and while you rest. And that golden light just flowing down like a wave from above to below, down through the hips, the legs, releasing through the thighs, the calves, all the way down to the arches of the feet and the toes. And that consciousness gathering in your third eye or sometimes right above your crown chakra, like a ball of gold and silver. And then where that consciousness goes, where thoughts, intention go, from this deep, relaxed space, shifting your awareness with the question of what do I need to know today? What can I be shown from another life or incarnation? What will be helpful for me to know about the secret space programs I've been involved with? Just asking that question, and then when you're ready, you can speak out loud.
For many thousands of years, alien races that are more advanced have been involved in human consciousness development. It was determined that during the Second War, 1939 time frame, that German contactees of Pleiadian beings be trusted to start development of a program outside of the consciousness on Earth. It was determined that there would be programs developed in Antarctica and then eventually out in space. Advanced consciousness beings came in to help other souls, and not just from the German race, but also from other races. They could determine, as souls incarnated, which humans had advanced consciousness from their light. When we incarnate, there's a certain amount of light that comes in. Advanced level souls were contacted that had advanced levels of light and were brought into the program. Initially, the program started with development of spacecraft that could fly here on Earth, some detected, some not detected. Some of this was through the consciousness of the beings that were flying the craft. In the early stages, the craft were more physical. In later stages, the craft were connected with consciousness of the actual people that were motivating the craft. And when I say motivating, I mean that the consciousness linked with the craft and moved the craft. The consciousness had to be determined as the craft was built, because there was a certain level of consciousness in the craft. So people had to be trained to connect with the consciousness of the craft. The craft would not connect with everyone. So some people had to develop their consciousness even to connect with the craft. So this was part of the initial training. There were dark levels of consciousness here on Earth. Those were excluded from this program. Only higher levels of consciousness of light were allowed to participate in the program. Eventually, this program moved into space. It was developed on the dark side of the moon. There were craft that were built using materials that were developed. Some of the materials came from Earth, but some of the materials were already there on the dark side of the moon from previous thousands of years back during Atlantis, when consciousness on Earth was more advanced. And then there was a falling down of the consciousness, and these programs were put in mothballs until the consciousness was raised again to the level that humans could begin to redevelop this level of consciousness and connect with the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation determined that human consciousness was ready to evolve, and it started to evolve in space around the other planetary bodies. Saturn had different levels of consciousness that would accept the Earthlings as they came in. We called them Earthlings because the consciousness was coming from Earth. It was kind of a lower level of consciousness that had to be developed. During this time frame, when I was born in the 60s, it was already advanced. It was around different planetary bodies, spacecraft, living quarters, more like barracks quarters. This is when I came in around the age of 3 in 1963. They had noticed my energy was high. They contacted my mother. She agreed to letting me go into this program. And she also agreed to have her memory wiped of this program after I was involved in it. The way the consciousness moves into this is not the physical body that is on Earth goes into it. It's more of a consciousness that is formed first from the consciousness of the being on Earth, and then a body is formed with that consciousness that matches the body, the DNA of that body. This is the connection that many have at this time that are starting to come forward. So over a long period of time, I was developed into this program. There's lots of different training that happens in this program that is very different from Earth. In Earth, the consciousness is still very much controlled with false information of how space, time, gravity, lots of advanced mathematics. These are not withheld in the secret space program. And it's called secret space program because it's separated from the Earth, but it's not secret in, of course, in space. There are different evolutions that are happening on different planetary bodies. Mars has an internal hive of people that are being developed and are living. Each of the planetary bodies has, like Venus, has a very advanced level of consciousness. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, when you said you came in at age 3, do you mean like you came into the program at 3, or were you a walk-in into that body?
So from the age of 3, that consciousness was developed. There was like an avatar body that was developed from that consciousness.
Okay.
Then it was put into the program, and then it started to develop from that point on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is interesting because you've spoken in past video talks about connecting with the consciousness of the weather, the clouds, the wind. So it sounds like it wouldn't really be any different than connecting to the consciousness of a machine or an interdimensional travel vehicle. Is it the same? Is it different?
That's good, because everything has consciousness. So when we develop something, even here on Earth, the people that are developing it, it's their consciousness, their concept of what they're trying to build, that their consciousness goes into whatever it is they're building. Mm-hmm. Like our molecules, our atoms are held together by our consciousness. Mm-hmm. As we develop something, that consciousness goes into it. So if I take a stick and carve it into a spear or a knife or anything like that, even though the wood has its own consciousness, it is starting to take on my consciousness. Mm-hmm. and my consciousness goes into it. Just like a tree, a living tree has consciousness, a blade of grass, an insect, a reptile, all have consciousness that holds their pattern together. So this pattern also goes into the consciousness of the being that's being, I wouldn't say programmed, but coaxed into creating another conscious form in space. So it's nursed, is basically put together. The younger is better because it actually can be developed over time. It doesn't bring any negative programming with it. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the ideals of the secret space program, to bring in the early stages, in the 60s and the 50s and 60s, they started to bring in children to grow up within the secret space program.
Oh, wow. Well, that really explains some things, because then it makes sense why some people would say they've been involved with this, but but maybe neighbors or friends or other family members have never seen them, disappear for weeks at a time because it's happening on the level of consciousness. That's powerful insight that clarifies a lot of things.
Yes, and as they develop, the development is far greater and faster because of the knowledge from the alien beings that contribute. The initial alien beings were Pleiadian. They're blonde, blue-eyed, tall, 7 foot, up to 9 feet tall. These Pleiadian beings were very, very helpful in developing consciousness, and that is the key to going forward, developing the consciousness, because there's consciousness that is developed on a negative path throughout the galaxy and throughout the different universes. And with this higher level of consciousness, more pure consciousness, beings are able to go to higher levels of awareness, knowledge, connection with one another, whereas in the dark levels of consciousness development, it's more of a oneness, separation from all there is in a oneness. The Luciferian concept is can only go so far, can only go so high in the development of any being or any consciousness within Earth, because even negative entities are coming into even trees, even machines, so they can go into anything, just as our consciousness develops different things, so can the negative side. But the negative side is limited, and it's how far up the scale of consciousness they can go at this time. They're being held back by their oneness, because the focus on just the individual, believing the individual is capable of being like God instead of connecting with God, holds their development back tremendously.
Interesting. Yeah. When you say oneness, you mean like the separateness or individualness, but like them wanting to be like a God instead of being an aspect of the creator.
Exactly.
Is that what yeah.
There's a force that moves through all things, and learning how to connect with this force is the thing that takes us to the higher levels. Of course, the negative beings can also use that, and that's one of the reasons why the secret space program was developed, to begin to protect other connecting beings with the creator source and protect them from the separation forces.
Okay. So when the Pleiadians came in 1939, were they assisting more in a general sense, or were they helping to like overturn Hitler? Or
no, the dark beings are allowed to continue on their path. This is part of the force that moves through all things is available to all, and if they're developed in the dark way, that's part of the consciousness moving up. That's why it's allowed to happen here on Earth now, because it stimulates some souls to break away from that and go to the connection with all there is, whereas the dark forces, Luciferian forces that move throughout our galaxy and many, many universes, are very, very powerful in their own right, and they attract many souls into connecting with that because they feel that it's more powerful than the life forces. But that's a false path. The higher level life forces are the ones that actually allow us to reach these higher levels of consciousness, and then to start to develop these super advanced technologies. The dark forces can't scale up that high.
okay. Thank you. What what information or knowledge do you have about Antarctica? I think that's a real topic of interest for a lot of people. There's a lot of mystery shrouded in what actually happened there or is currently happening there.
There were many bases that were developed there, knowing that that area would be under frozen and would lock in a lot of these secrets until it was time to unlock them, which it was during the 1939 era. So there are underground bases within that continent. There are many extraterrestrials, different races that have been there for a long time. Extraterrestrial races are throughout the Earth and inside the Earth now, in the oceans, bases in the oceans. There are space stations that are surrounding the Earth, the planets, but they're cloaked. So there's many, many different reasons for keeping that secret until consciousness could regenerate after a dark era. From a cycle, there's more light that's coming into the Earth once again. Gamma radiation, which brings up the consciousness level. It started in the late 30s, and now it's starting to accelerate faster and faster. So it was known that during this time frame, the Earth incarnations would start to advance again, and more souls of light started to incarnate again and to help this process move along.
So what about many people have wondered or felt that disclosure was imminent. Disclosure meaning, for people watching, if the aliens races have been here for all this time, that they're going to finally come forward. We're going to see it on the news, or is that what is your feeling on the timing of that type of disclosure? Or are there certain things that need to happen first?
There's still certain things that need to happen. The dark cabal that controls much of Earth now has to be defeated, because they're restricting the positive aliens from coming forward. Once they are defeated within the next few months to the year, then there will be more disclosure. The process will be slow at first, but then we'll pick up speed over the next several years afterwards. That disclosure will come through the TV process, through different videos that will be created. Many are in the know right now, but the process of taking out the dark ones has to continue before the light comes in.
And thank you. What is your knowledge of what's happening on the dark side of the moon now? And what purpose? Is it actually a planet? Some people believe it's a, man-made or, a constructed structure.
It is a constructed moon. There are many moons that have been constructed that are orbiting around other planetary bodies within the solar system. The internal structure was designed to house tens of thousands comfortably, and to create some of these projects. A lot of them were shut down for thousands of years, but there are many different races that have communities on the dark side of the moon and actually within the moon base. So one of the reasons why it does not rotate like normal moons is because it's put in a gravitational field that keeps it locked, so that it won't be revealed what's on that side of the moon, so that all these different programs can run unheeded. So if it were rotating, there would have to be cloaking devices. The movement could possibly be revealed to those watching. So on the dark side, the movement of different craft from the dark side is easily done without it alerting anyone on the earth, because it's not, earth consciousness is not ready for the advancement that would happen, the rapid advancement of knowing that there were advanced races of beings. And not all races could be termed advanced. The dark consciousness has starships, has programs. They have higher dimensional consciousness, but they're not considered by those of the light to be advanced.
Yeah, speaking of advanced, you mentioned Venus being a very advanced colony or collective of beings there. Do they have a singular intention or overall intention for their, yeah?
The consciousness on Venus is extremely advanced. A lot of super warriors, as what they were calling us in the secret space program, those that have been developed to handle the higher consciousness information and use it in war, would go there to train. That information has filtered down into my consciousness here on Earth. So the love energy is known to be the most powerful force in the universe. Mm-hmm. The Venetians have trained many throughout the entire galaxy because of their advanced level of consciousness. So many from all kinds of different races come to Venus to train in these higher levels of consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because it's always been something that you've taught, but it's very unlike the norm that the super warrior is, his greatest weapon is love. Would you agree?
It is. What it does, it takes you to levels of consciousness where you can instantaneously access information on a level that's far beyond the dark forces. They will never understand this energy, this information, because of the dark path that they've taken. This Venetian energy, this Venetian love energy that's been taught to many races, has helped transform our galaxy in ways that would not have happened without that information. So the secret space program, that's what it's pretty much founded on right now. Even though there are some in the secret space program that are somewhat dark, some of the warriors are still dark. They have gone down that path to a certain extent. Many of us that are of this light energy understand their lower consciousness and although it's difficult to work with them, we still can. And that's what we're seeing here on Earth. Even though there's difficulty working with dark consciousness beings here on Earth, we still try to work with them to help them, change their energy, change their thought patterns into these higher levels of consciousness of light. Because the higher levels of consciousness of light allow such amazing things to happen, but they're trapped in this dark web of consciousness, and it's very hard to pull them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so different from what, can you speak to, and this is my naive understanding, but when people enter into the military, I was watching another movie the other night, and the main character was supposed to be encouraging men, military professionals, men and women, to re-enlist. And he was just talking about how you learn to numb out, you learn to turn off all your senses, you learn to not feel. And the implication was to not be empathetic or loving because you can't be a warrior. And so it's fascinating, you know, is there some process that a warrior must go through? Must they go through that level of training to get to where you are? Could they be a super warrior without the first becoming devoid of their emotions? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very interesting trajectory.
It's limited in the voiding of the emotions. The emotions are powerful. The emotions help you physically, help you mentally to excel if you understand how to use them correctly. The ones that void their emotions, that void their connection, their empathy, their connection with others, limit themselves tremendously. So it's the connection that happens, the love for your fellow warrior, the love for your mission, the love that you know that your mission is important, that oftentimes leads to victory over great odds. So the ones that are connecting with the loss of emotions, that connect with the hate of the enemy, the anger of the enemy, lower their vibrational consciousness and begin to attract that which they're trying to avoid, that which they think that they want to fight. The thing that they hate comes to them and they're often destroyed. So it's been proven to all of us that are in the secret space program that if you do not connect with the all there is and connect with it with each other on a high level, then you're extremely ineffective in many battles. Many campaigns have been lost that tried to integrate those that had hate and anger because they attracted that, and the missions were often destroyed and great loss of life. So the greater the vibrational energy, the connection with the love energy, the connection with source, the connection with others that are of like mind, that have that vibrational frequency, that force is extremely effective. And the building of the weapons that are used, the building of the craft, this is how the craft are built with this love. The craft will not function with someone that has the lower anger consciousness. So you have to develop your consciousness at these high levels to even work much of the weaponry, the craft, and be able to function effectively with that craft, with those weapons.
That makes a lot of sense. It's the passionate leaders. Makes me think of Joan of Arc. Okay, so is there anything for you personally to continue to evolve right now? Is there some memory of yours on the Secret Space program, maybe at the time of planning your intentions, your goals, or some experience that you've had that could come forward and download into your consciousness that would help you to move forward on your earthly mission? What would be helpful for you to know now, essentially?
That the path that I'm on, the warrior path, was essential to go into these states of consciousness that I'm trying to inform of humanity now. If I had not been the warrior, if I had not gone into the secret space program where this information is bleeding through, then I would not have been able to help more of humanity advance at this time where it's very crucial, because there's a tipping point that could happen either way. This tipping point could go negative or it could go positive. On certain timelines, it's already gone positive, but the negative side with their time wars have come in and tried to change our past, to change the history, to change the forward movement. This is being displayed now in the destruction of the monuments and the desire to bring these monuments down. This is changing the past, changing the outcome that they want, trying to change the outcome that they want. So it's very important now that many who understand this can inform others, can help others see what the dark side is trying to do. On the other side, I have been involved in time wars. In these time wars, some of us go back in time and stop those of the dark negative type from changing what might be an outcome in the future, in our now even. So we could literally wake up tomorrow and things would be completely negative, completely changed, if it weren't for those of us that have been involved in time wars. These time wars are on another dimensional level. We think of time as being linear. It is not. We can go into a time and go back in time. We can go forward in time. We can go forward and see what the timeline is going to be like for a particular timeline. There are many timelines that exist that are parallel. There are wars that go on these parallel timelines. There are wars that go on in the past. Time is not always as we know it. We believe that everything has happened up to this point. It can't be changed, but it can be. And there are those of us that have gone back and actually fought wars where wars were being fought. Like the Civil War they tried to change the Civil War many times to go negative. There were times where the World War II, they tried to change the time. Some of these come through here in this timeline where it was taught that a certain battle went a certain way. And now history, if we look at what we're being taught now, the battle changed a certain way. So you can look at the timelines and see even now that things have changed. This is because of the time wars.
Wow. So is there a simpler way for people to understand that concept of parallel lives, or even, future lives, which the physicists do show us parallel lives are occurring? And I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people to grasp or understand like why, if we're living parallel lives, why we're experiencing this one and not that one. Is there any insight or education you could give on that concept?
Parallel lives on this plane and parallel lives in the secret space program are developing the soul level. It's multitasking, simply. Think of it that way. So some souls can handle more information faster in their development. They're also coming in these multiple lifetimes to continue work that they have started. So they incarnate into, let's say they were a Chinese in one life, and their group, their family group, or their country needed for the information that they had been bringing in to continue. So they would incarnate again into that life. Whereas in another realm, like, for instance, they would incarnate as American to start the same consciousness in America that they were trying to develop in China that was very valuable. So it's very important that they continue their work like that. Any soul that's incarnating can do this. It's up to the soul whether they do that. The spirit body can be fragmented easily, and not in a negative way. Fragmented so that it can experience multiple things at the same time. And this is a choice by different souls. Usually souls that are of a higher vibrational frequency that have more light. They can take that light and split it and easily incarnate into other souls and accomplish more. This also happens, unfortunately, with the dark souls as well. So anything that you're seeing at this level can be practiced by dark entities as well. This is the problem that many souls of light have, understanding that the dark souls are very powerful and they don't have the best interest of the souls of light. So the souls of light, being naive in this regard, are often easily manipulated and controlled. But that is where the love energy, the love light energy comes in to help many souls in this era and past eras that were more advanced overcome these dark entities. So the love energy is very important. The love energy, the connection. As we move forward, more people will understand it. But there's still those that are of good quality, but still very, very young in their development of the soul energy, very young in the development of the knowledge of all there is, very young in the development of using their light energy for good purposes.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it's making me wonder if some things that are coming to me, if you would agree or clarify if you sense differently. But one reason for parallel lives could be, you and I were talking in the beginning and you said your sense was that I am incarnated in one of the super soldier levels of experience because I'm helping soldiers overcome trauma. And what struck me about that is that in this life, as a hypnotherapist for 25 years, I've worked with helping people overcome their childhood trauma. And I could see almost like the parallel lives, it's like extra learning. It's like I'm in two different classes, or I'm taking an extra class here on Earth to help me with the super soldiers, or vice versa. Is that part of the reasoning for splitting our consciousness, is because we can advance faster if I'm learning in both and using my experiences in both? Is that plausible?
That's exactly the way it works.
Okay.
And that's the reason why we do the parallel incarnations. So as we were going down in consciousness, I had that I feel is very important for you to remember as well. During Roman times, many of the gladiators were of the noble class because the gladiator training was extremely advanced. So to become a great warrior, become a leader in battle, many of the nobles would come in for a period of 1 or 2 years and train as a gladiator. You were one that came in to help heal the gladiators, but of the noble class, because you were noble and you were a healer, and your abilities to run energy as you do now were extremely important. There have been times, many think that Roman culture was not advanced because the linear thought that time, as we go forward in time, information becomes greater, consciousness becomes greater. But there have been groups of consciousness that have advanced very high. The Roman culture had an extremely high level of advancement and achievements that many dismiss because they think it's thousands of years ago. But during that time frame, your abilities were extremely advanced, and you were able to heal on a level that is just now starting to come back to you again. So these healing abilities, when we connect with them, we can advance very quickly in these lifetimes. So don't discount something from the past as being limited because of the time frame. Even in the future, there are future lives that we are going to live or become aware of that are happening right now, where we are extremely advanced. You and I are extremely advanced in the abilities that we have now, on the level of 6th and 7th dimension, where we manifest instantaneously. We are creator beings, and we help those that are trying to reach those levels. So don't discount anything from past lifetimes as being limited because of time. That was something that I felt needed to come through.
I thank you. That really resonates with me, and it's very like just a rush of energy that it's like just confirming sense of purpose and this broader perspective. And I think that's powerful for everyone to know that they could access past lives, even all parallel or future lives, to, in their desire. Many people live with this feeling of knowing like they're here to do something greater. They're here to help with the ascension. They just don't know how or what. So I think that's something to explore later, perhaps after today. Okay, I wanted to go on to the question about your body type as a super soldier and
Yes,
anything.
you can develop, this is part of the consciousness field as well. If you have a desire to develop your body at extremely high level, meaning very large mass, you can do that. There are ways to develop the body. The steroids that are used here on Earth would be laughable in the secret space program. The natural ingredients, the consciousness involved with developing the body, the skeletal structure, the nervous system, the mental structure, so forth. This is part of the consciousness that is highly developed in the secret space program. In the secret space program, we look back at Earth, and we do not get involved in Earth at all. We're completely separated from Earth because Earth has to develop at its own rate. We do not look at Earth. We're not informed about Earth. We're not informed about anything that's happening on Earth. We're completely separate and developing our consciousness at a very, very high level in the secret space program on the bases that are all over our solar system and in some other galaxies. We have expanded into other galaxies, the Sirian galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy, and so forth. So we are not limited to Earth at all. When we move into these other galaxies, we learn information from these other sources. The reptilians that are trying to control Earth consciousness here on Earth are very limited in other galaxies. They're known to be very low vibrational information beings and are limited, although there are some that have advanced up the negative consciousness scale and some that have transitioned to the higher level of consciousness that eventually they will be able to attain in the light realms. So these extremely large and developed reptilians have given us information to help develop our own bodies to the high levels. And this is because when we go to war against them, we would be easily defeated. We would be like midgets going against a giant. These reptilians are extremely large and extremely powerful. So consciousness alone is not a determining factor in battle, as we all know. So developing the physical specimen to be extremely large, up to 6 to 7 feet, and weighing 200 to 300 pounds, but extremely well muscled, was very important in the secret space program in the early days. This was during my first incarnation into the secret space program, a 20-year program, where I developed my body to a very high level. This was very, very important in some of the wars that we fought. I led groups of soldiers in these early stages as a captain, and then eventually as an admiral. So the spacecraft are considered flying in space like a Navy ship would sail the seas. The spacecraft sail through the ocean of space. So they're called spaceships because of that. So as a captain, and then moving up the scale, I was able to basically lead large groups of men. I remember a battle against rock men. These are men that they're not completely rock. They have like scales, like a dinosaur would have scales, but these are men. These are beings, and they're very advanced, and they're very big and powerful. So I would lead groups in our spacecraft into some planetary objects that had deep underground bases. We would land, we would fight these beings. We had to fight together because these beings were extremely advanced, and just one of our weaponry would not defeat them. So we had to use one person hitting them from one angle and another person hitting them from another angle to defeat them, to destroy them, to kill them. We eventually went underground into their base and started to fight them. We were called the Samsons because we could fight as just one. We were like one-man armies, just one of us. But we had to link up to fight these beings, these rock men. As we went down into their system, they were able to separate me from my crew and kill me. They blew off part of my head and part of my right shoulder, and I died. My group fought to bring me back, to get me, pulled me back, carried me back to the larger spacecraft where we came from, and they were able to bring my consciousness back. So as my consciousness came back, I had that moment of death, where that shock of being killed. And once that was over, they started to regenerate me in the tank. So it was after one of these regeneration periods that you helped me to become one again. You are a captain in that program, and you have a large group that you have trained to help others survive from their psychological, emotional, and physical wounds. So later in the program, I decided to stay 20 years. I continued for another 20 years. And now I'm on my last 20 years. And I say last because at this point, I have the option of going into the Galactic Council or continuing as part of the Warrior program. So after a period of time, your knowledge and information that you receive can be transferred into the consciousness of another being, even in that program. So they're considering me to go into the Galactic Council instead of continuing in the secret space program. So it's a decision that I'm coming up on now. I have not decided yet whether I'm going to do that.
Wow. What kind of weaponry did you use in that battle with the rock men?
So our craft that we fly out from the spacecraft, the larger spacecraft, and there's bays on this larger spacecraft. They jettison us out. So we rely on gravity. We don't have propulsion craft. So we rely on gravity for these particular missions because the craft are able to use initially the gravity of the larger spaceship, and then after we're jettisoned out, we connect with the gravity of whatever planetary body or moon where we're supposed to go. So our craft, through our consciousness, can go in. These craft can actually shoot weaponry, and this is an extremely advanced level because most craft don't have weaponry because the consciousness is not advanced enough to handle it. So the consciousness of love connects with the craft initially because the craft are built out of love. But the craft normally, because of this love consciousness, do not have weaponry because they don't understand to fight other beings that are of a negative is a positive with love. So they're not always equipped with weaponry unless the being that's flying them is more advanced. I was not able to use craft that had weaponry until my second 20 year, when my consciousness advanced enough to handle this higher level of consciousness of keeping my consciousness flying the vehicle and using weaponry like shooting. We have extremely advanced laser weaponry. We have pulse bombs that we shoot that shoot energy that connect with an object and destroy it, change its atomic structure and just implode it or explode it. There's different types. There's also weaponry that we carry. We can carry a weapon, or we can actually get into a craft that's like a moving weapon. And this is where our consciousness, again, has to be very advanced, because the heads-up displays that we have will have a 360-degree view in front of us. So we have to be able to consciously understand this and then think to use our weaponry, and it activates and fires just with our consciousness. So again, your consciousness has to be at a higher level. If you have doubts, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your mission, your weaponry will be completely useless. So you have to be extremely advanced in your consciousness to use this type of weaponry. So this weaponry is on a kinetic level that would be almost like 100 bullets being fired at one time. So extremely advanced, and this is just one pulse. And it's on a level that is it's on a level that is extremely advanced. So with this advancement in consciousness, we are also able to, on a quantum level, create weaponry. So we can fire thousands of pulse weapons from one weapon system because of the quantum level that we're able to make these rounds. These rounds are not on a physical level, they're on a quantum level, a consciousness level. So even the bullets themselves, or the pulse weaponry that we use, is on a quantum level, and it actually works with us to defeat our enemies. So it's on a level it's hard to comprehend at our level, where we have physical rounds that are that are shot out, and there's a limit. We can only carry so many of these rounds, but on a quantum level, it can be in the thousands of rounds, and with more kinetic energy in them that can be imagined. Like 1,000-pound bomb being shot from a plane is like one bullet that I can fire from one of my pulse weapons. It's extremely effective. And when it hits a target, it implodes it sometimes. Instead of exploding, it will go onto a dimensional level where the atomic structure goes into almost like a black hole and is absorbed into the consciousness of the universe. It's amazing how this happens. Mm. But on a quantum level, it can happen, but only on a quantum level. So it takes a quantum level of consciousness to use this weaponry. It's a quantum level of weaponry, like bullets and so forth. The weaponry itself is of a metal that's far beyond any titanium that we have now, 100 times stronger and flexible. So we can actually get into a type of weapon system that wraps around our body and keeps us protected from different pulse weapons that are used by enemies as well.
Wow. So it brings up a question for me that many people have. I think about when you are aware of higher consciousness and you are aware of the love consciousness being what we want to evolve to, and they're encountering other humans or entities that are dark or malevolent. Some believe that you should just focus on the light, you should just focus on love. Maybe the idea is, raising your vibration so that you don't interact with beings of lower vibration. And then others in the light worker field teach protection, putting some sort of protection around your aura or your body to protect against malevolent directed energies. Do you have ideas, suggestions, on that for people? Because I think that's a huge question that has yet to be answered properly in my mind.
Yes, the higher the information that you have about the love vibration, this vibration is at different levels. Think of an onion. As you peel it back, it's the same with the love vibration. As you go deeper into this understanding of the love vibration, it becomes more powerful for you in every aspect of your life, whether it's self-healing, whether it's healing others, whether it's keeping negative entities from affecting you. And these negative entities will be attracted to you like a bug will be to light. As you advance in your consciousness scale, advanced negative entities will come and try and enter your auric field. So this is another level of consciousness where you protect yourself with an auric field of love that keeps them away, that keeps them from penetrating you, which keeps them from penetrating you when you're sick. When I was very young, they tried to penetrate me many times, but angelic forces kept me safe when I was young until I learned how to do that myself. So as you learn how to protect your auric field from the negative entities, then you can advance to higher levels of consciousness with this energy. You can start to send that energy out to other negative entities and affect their auric fields like they're trying to affect yours. This is why it's so important as we move forward to start to understand the vibrations of love and how they can be used to not only keep ourselves safe and keep ourselves healthy and young, but also to keep us safe from negative entities that would do us wrong. So some are trapped in the consciousness that if I am love, if I focus on love, then I will be protected. This is a naive level of understanding of the love vibrational consciousness. As you become more aware of the love vibrational consciousness and you become more at one with the one source of this consciousness, then you start to understand how to use it on higher and higher levels. And this is what we use in the Secret Space program. Not only do we protect ourselves with this love energy, but we create all of our things with this love energy. And that gives us a level of protection. Then we focus that love energy out. That not only gives us a level of energy and protection, but also gives us an understanding of the dark forces that are trying to manipulate and control us. So as we see them with our energy that goes out, then we can start to affect them. So we start to send love energy to them to affect them. And as they're affected, then they become weakened and we are able to defeat them even easier. And we hope at some point that this love energy, as we become more and more evolved with it, that these wars will not have to be fought. But this is very complicated because they continue to advance and their consciousness scale is on the dark side as well. So it's a race, oftentimes, to reach levels of consciousness where we can stop them out.
That's very, very powerful. And the metaphor with the onion does explain some things. And does someone who's at your level of evolution in consciousness as a super soldier, do you experience fear? I guess because to me fear would be the opposite of love. Are the rock people or others that would try to defeat, I mean, they're coming from maybe some level of, or how does fear play into all of this? And that's just what I'm feeling like asking.
Fear is used as a weapon as well as love is used as a weapon. So as we send out the levels of love, the levels of fear are shot back at us. So they try to control our consciousness as they do here on Earth with fear. So as you start to understand that fear is a negative, that fear basically pulls you down in consciousness and makes you ineffective, you learn to stay in the love vibrational consciousness. So even though I would see beings that I had never seen before, it doesn't evoke any negativity in me. I'm just observing them as I would observing a small baby that's just been created. The baby does not look like a normal human when they're first born, other than arms and legs. They're very misshapen when they're born. So when you see, but you still have love for that because you know the potential that's going to happen, that will transform. So when I see a negative being, it's like I look at a baby that I have never seen before. You know, it's not something that brings fear to me. It's just I'm observing. And these beings can be of very unusual shapes, and of they look like things that here on Earth we're taught to fear. So we're taught to fear things on Earth. In the Secret Space program, we're taught to fear nothing whatsoever, because of the consciousness shift that would happen. So we're taught to be very observant and to think of love always, even when we know the potential, like a giant reptilian reptoid that would, like snap our heads off and eat us for lunch, because that's what they like. They like humans. They like to eat humans. We know that, but that does not bring us fear, because that fear would weaken us, and then they make us vulnerable. And some of the creatures, some of the aliens can detect fear. And if they can't detect fear, they will try and instill fear. So you can feel them trying to make you fearful, because if they create that fear, then you're more of a delicacy to them to eat. So we don't like to be eaten, and we like to keep them in their place. If we have the love vibration, they know that we're strong, that we're to be by them feared, because they fear strength. They fear the love vibration. They try and get away from it because they know that we are very powerful with that, and we can defeat them. We can conquer their evil intentions just with our love. Of course, some of them are extremely advanced, and that's why they send some of us out that are more advanced to counter them. And sometimes this can be done in just conversations. These conversations happen on a telepathic level, or we can send groups of people like from the Galactic Federation. Some of our people have reached the level of Galactic Federation people as well. These are normally Galactic Federation are like what we would consider politicians now. They're the ones that help create the balance within the universe. They try and create peace in the universe. Some of the negative beings are part of this Galactic Federation that are of the light, and they try and form their negative beings that are of the dark light, because light is light everywhere, even the ones that take that light and use it for dark purposes. So they try and instill in them a more higher level of light energy. Although that's resisted oftentimes, sometimes they can have an effect. So the Galactic Council members are often effective in stopping some of these wars. But if they're not, that's when Warriors, the secret space program, that's when we get involved.
Okay.
Sometimes just a show of force, like we're talking about now, will be enough to stop negativity, war, or violence from happening. Just like you would have police that would patrol a certain city that had negative groups in it to keep them from getting out of hand. It's the same thing in the secret space program, where we'll show up in an area that might be getting out of control, and just the presence will calm things.
Yeah. Okay. Are there other memories related to your training in the past that would be helpful for you to know about today?
Understanding the love in relationships is very important. In the secret space program, there's not the negative connotations of sex and promiscuity that is often displayed here on Earth. Here in the secret space program, we usually mate with just one person, and that's usually for the entire time. Oftentimes it is with someone that we work with, because there are women and men that works together in the secret space program as warriors, as council members, as driving spaceships, as, you know, just the normal, you know, everyday, you know, things that happen, people that, you know, do the cleanup. So there's different levels. Everyone is trained to be a warrior, but there's mostly it's to support the warriors that go out to keep the peace, to make sure that the trade, the galactic trade, continues without without disruption that a lot of races like to try, almost like pirates, almost like the Vikings of old, come in and raid and steal and destroy. So that's the main reason for the secret space program. It was, yes, to develop the levels of consciousness so that these people could be warriors in the early stages when I got involved in it, but now it's developing to a very, very high level where we're keeping peace more, and we're joining with other units, other spacecraft, other spaceships from other planets, from other galaxies, and even from other universes, because we can travel interdimensionally into, like through wormholes, into other universes. So through this process, we're able to keep the peace. We're able to continue to push the light, but the relationships that happen often will happen with and happen for life. So I am in the secret space program involved with someone from the Pleiades that was helping us from the beginning. And she has been my companion for almost 60 years now. This is normal in the secret space program. There is not this bouncing around between different people, between just, one night stands, so forth. It just does not happen in the secret space program. Although on some bases that have taken people from Earth, there is some of that going on in some of the underground bases. But on the average, and I would say more of the whole, the secret space program, the mating is for life. And this is being disrupted here on Earth, where different types of relationships, very casual relationships, are being pushed, relationships with the same sex and so forth. Although this does happen in the secret space program, it's rare. Most people connect with someone of the opposite sex. And this is not to say that that's best, but it is something that works out extremely well in the secret space program. And I think that's something that needs to come through in this time frame.
Yeah, I definitely think that's really speaking to me. It's there's something that you've learned through that mating process, through that commitment process. There may be even philosophies that are taught on that level of consciousness. So are there pieces of that knowledge that would help people in this dimension that are seeking knowledge to improve their current relationship, or they're seeking a mate and feeling frustrated with that? I wouldn't say it's advice for the people who just want to go out and have one night stands, but those who are seeking to have a relationship that's based on love, or to better a relationship, to create or have more love.
This is part of the process in the beginning that at one-ment that's taught to the young, to the children, and as they progress, it's continued. So this at one-ment, this love energy, as you advance, as you peel back the onion skin of the love energy and understand it more and more and more, that's where the consciousness to connect with another eventually comes through, and it's a commitment that usually lasts for the entire process wherein you're in the secret space program. This is something that can be learned here on Earth, the at one-ment, the learning the love at the deeper levels that is being taught, and not at the religious level, but at a level where you understand the force that moves through all things. And this is something that's been taught in some of the movies, something that's been taught in all the different religions, but is often hijacked and used for negative purposes. And this is part of the dark forces as well that will come in, hijack these positive energies, these positive teachings, and distort them. So just like they distort the educational system, they distort the religious systems, they distort the political systems, and so forth. So all these systems become distorted with negative and with light. But the love vibration, the learning of the energies of the love are the most important things, and it transfers to an understanding of all beings, and that connection. Usually the connection will happen on a level that's far beyond even the casual sex, the casual connections that we have normally here on Earth. If you can connect with these love energy vibrations, you will normally attract someone of like energy vibration.
Profound. That's it right there. I love that. I just want to pause on that for a minute. If we connect directly with these higher vibrations of love, and we, instead of seeking feeling of love from someone else, then like attracts like. Yeah, that's beautiful. Is there a question or inquiry, exploration into, in your note, you had said spaceships and designs, where we are going in the galaxy, etc.
Yes, there are many suns in our galaxy, in our spiral Milky Way galaxy. We're starting to explore more and more of these on the farther reaches of our galaxy and connecting with other consciousness realms. Some of them are even less advanced than we are, or less evolved than we are, and we're trying to help them. The ones that are more evolved, we connect with them if they want to connect with us. Sometimes they do not want to connect with us, and that's by choice, because it's like, you know, taking a baby and trying to teach a baby advanced mathematics. It just doesn't happen. So some of these advanced levels of consciousness beings just don't want to have anything to do with us. So as we find more and more galaxies that we can interact with, because these suns that are here in our galaxy are actually not as evolved as some of the other galaxies. Some galaxies have been around much longer than our galaxy, the Milky Way. We are still a very young galaxy. And as we go out into these other galaxies, then we can start to advance our own galaxy's consciousness at a faster rate. It would be like someone teaching you any kind of mathematics that it had a very advanced knowledge, like an Einstein, teach you at an extremely accelerated rate. That's what we look for by reaching out to these other galaxies. And sometimes they are willing to share their information with us to help us advance. These are the things we're moving forward to at this point. The advanced technologies that we're starting to uncover, the ability to manifest metals from a quantum realm is becoming more advanced. So from thinking just on this plane, we think of how we can advance, for instance, metallurgy. But in the quantum realm, the information comes at an extremely fast rate. So learning how to go into 5D and above is something that we're starting to explore at a faster and faster rate. So manifesting this information, manifesting the things that we want to advance our technologies in, are the things that we're moving towards at this time. Metallurgy is just one concept that we're starting to push. So the metallurgy that we have now will not allow us to travel between galaxies. So we're trying to learn the different types of metallurgy that allow us to move through these wormholes into another galaxy. The stresses that happen within these wormholes are too much for our ships at this time. So we're trying to push the advancement of our consciousness to develop these new metallurgy concepts and build them into our ships. Some of them are coming through now, and some of them will take time because it's a consciousness thing. If your consciousness is not high enough, you can't make these higher levels of metallurgy. So this is the same thing that happens here on Earth. Unless the consciousness is at an advanced level, other higher consciousness beings will not work with you, and you cannot advance up the consciousness scale and achieve. So this is why we're being watched right now, because we're right at the point where we're going to make this leap in consciousness. It's happened in many other star systems, many others, tens of thousands of them. But the level that we're advancing has been rarely seen in any other star system. And in some of the galaxies that we're starting to connect with, they're even extremely intrigued by the level that we're advancing. And why is that? It's because of this connection with the love energy. It's because of our connection with Venus. The Venetians have been an extremely strong source in helping us advance. Like I said, Venus is one of the main places of teaching for all of our galaxy. So being in such close proximity has helped us advance at a level and at a speed that has rarely been seen in the galaxy or in other galaxies. So this is one of the things that I think is very important. The love energy, the connection with the love energy, and the understanding of how powerful it is and how it can not only advance the consciousness of an individual being, but advance it to the point where it can start to connect with the quantum realms, the quantum information. The quantum information is the next step in our consciousness shift.
Yeah. And what's beautiful about what you're saying is basically it's like all on the quantum levels, all information is there, all knowledge is there, but the way to access it has to be through you raising your vibration to greater and greater levels of love, correct?
It's correct. Of course, it can be done with the dark energies as well, but it cannot advance but only so high. Yeah. The rapid advancement is what is intriguing to other star systems and other galaxies because they had to fight against dark forces for many millions of years. Our advancement is happening at an extremely rapid pace.
So on a very basic level, I know more and more people are, wondering, how they connect with that love vibration, or how they can use it to, let's say someone's struggling with money issues or a health issue like chronic fatigue. What would someone do on a practical level with your knowledge to advance themselves really beyond survival mode? I think a lot of people would like to be in a place where they're connecting with more love, but they're just surviving the day,
In the secret space program and in the future of Earth, money will not be a concept that's used anymore. If something is needed by an individual, then it's going to be provided to a certain level, of course. The health of people going forward will be far greater. There is no sickness in space. There is no problems. Like I said, if my body is completely, destroyed, not completely, but, destroyed to a great level, it can be repaired. There's no cancers, no heart attacks, nothing like that. There's med beds where people can rearrange their energies. Here on Earth at this time, we can change our energies through our thoughts. So focusing on the desired outcome is the greatest thing that you can do, because oftentimes the negative, the thoughts of the thoughts of lack, the thoughts of discomfort often come through, and that's a vibration. So as you focus on a vibration of negative, it comes into your field. You have to have the vibrational thoughts of the desire, the strong desire of what it is that you want, and you have to keep that focus. That is a manifesting tool that is on a basic level. If you cannot master just that basic level, then you're not going to move up in the consciousness scale. So achieving the love that you want in your life, achieving the level of fitness, the level of health, these are all thoughts. These are all levels of consciousness. Achieving the level of success, achieving the level of monetary gain that you want, these are all focused thought. You have to focus on the positive. If the negative comes through, if the lack, if the ill feeling thoughts come through, then you have to change those with even more positive, because the negative is a very, very powerful force at the three-dimensional level. It's a very strong attractor. That's why a lot of people are attracted to negative things. That's why the press gets so much attention, because they focus on negative. The negative has a strong vibration, and most of us are trained in this consciousness field to be attracted to focus on the negative, because it keeps us under control. So as you learn to expand your vibrational field, as you learn to tap into the love vibration, that's when you start to attract the things that are positive. But you have to focus on the higher consciousness. You have to focus on the love vibration. The love vibration is the vibration of source. Without source, you do not manifest. You do not attain the things that you desire. It has to be at this vibrational source. If you want to manifest on the dark side at this level, that is available as well. Their vibrational source is a very strong manifester, but it's very negative. It causes, if there's often repercussions there. Once you tap into this negative and achieve anything with it, then there has to be a payment. They want a payment for manifesting on the dark side. There's never a payment on the light. You will never be required to pay the light back for getting something. On the dark side, you always will. This is the thing that many people don't understand. When you make a deal with Lucifer, then he will want his weight in blood and gold. So if you manifest in his realm, then you will pay him in some form or fashion. If you manifest on the light side, you will never be required to repay, because the love energy is inexhaustible. It will always come. It will always manifest for you. But there's extreme resistance. There's extreme controlling of the minds here on Earth. to not go with the love vibration, but to go with the dark.
Wow. It's very powerful, and it definitely coincides, supports what I teach in my work too. Whichever radio station you're listening to the most is the one that's going to prevail. So it's the love or it's the fear in your
Exactly.
thoughts.
You have to tune into the one that's going to manifest the positive. Otherwise, you're going to pay back double what you pay, double what you get. That's just the way the dark side works. Once you understand that, you will never go to the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm feeling intuitively called to ask you if now would be a time for you, or maybe you've done this already or would do this on your own, but you are in this fork in the road for your evolution to continue on with another 20 years or to shift your role to become part of the Galactic Council. And sometimes what I'll do in my work in a state of hypnosis is have you go into each life, go into each incarnation, each possibility, and to go down that path and see what you see that would be helpful for you to know about today in each choice point that might assist you, whether it comes today or not, in gathering data to make that decision for yourself. And you can say, no, that doesn't resonate with me, and that's fine, but it's just something that came up as a possibility to explore today.
This is good. The responsibility on either side is on the warrior side. There's a limit. It's an easier path. It's almost like all the things that I've worked for over the last 60 years, you would almost like want that reward. It's easy. You can control certain things easier because of your level of development. But on the other path, it's going to be much harder. Even though you're not going to be involved in brutal warfare, you will be sending souls to brutal warfare. Having that knowledge, having that knowing can be a very heavy toll on the soul. But it is a path that I feel like I'm drawn to take. With that path, interestingly, in the warrior program, your body is kept at the 35 to 40 year age. When you move into the Galactic Council, your body moves to almost the level that you're at, moves up into the 60-year-old level. This is a vibrational change. So this is one of the things that's disconcerting as well, because as you move to that vibrational field, more things come to you, which can be life-altering. We all get into a comfort zone. We want to stay in something that we feel comfortable with, that's easy for us. We resist the change. Even in the higher consciousness fields, we still resist change to a certain level. I do see myself going down that path. It's almost with a heavy heart, because I can see the things that I will be involved with. And some of those things will be very traumatic. But that leadership needs to happen. And I feel that I have those leadership qualities, that decision making, the quantum level of consciousness, the level of love, understanding that will be necessary as we move further up the consciousness scale and that connection with other galaxies, with other star systems. And it will take someone of that caliber to move into that field. It's like starting at the bottom again. So as you move into that level of consciousness, it's almost like you're a baby again. So it has its challenges, has its rewards. It's almost there will be a lot less of accolades. I have gotten many accolades, many perks through the secret space program. Most of those will fall away as I move into the Galactic Council. But it is something that I see myself doing, actually. Thank you.
Yes. And it would take lifetimes of incarnating and learning how to hold the light, to sustain the light, and to be in that level of consciousness in hand-to-hand battle that prepare you to step into a role of leading, countries and others into, well, the collective, into that level. You've got to learn to do it with yourself. But yes, a whole new set of lessons, for sure.
Very, very good insight. Yes, you're connecting with that. You're connecting with that very well. And that's obvious because you have a connection on that side that you can see that. Very good.
Is there an experience or one particular life or battle or training experience, anything from what we'll term the past, that would be helpful for you to remember or know about, as you would, it's like your greatest gifts, your greatest experiences, your greatest lessons from these incarnations as a super soldier, that would be helpful for you to know or see today, that would assist you in your path forward and whatever timing it happens for you.
Yeah, so the incarnation that comes to mind that's very similar to the path I'm getting ready to take and the things that I've accomplished is a lifetime as Constantine the Great. So during that lifetime, I was a warrior that overcame incredible odds against the Roman Empire. I conquered the Roman Empire. I tried to change the consciousness of the Roman Empire, but it was too much ingrained. It had gone too negative. And then I started a whole new city-state, Constantinople. I brought in the consciousness of a new religion. I brought in laws and information, higher learning that swept across much of the Mediterranean and into the rest of the world. So having the consciousness and the connection with that time frame will help me going forward in the next phase of my life, going into the Galactic Council.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So connecting with that and bringing forth the things that I accomplished in that lifetime, all the different levels, all the different battles, not just on the physical level with wars, but the battles against religious control and domination, against the separation of the state from consciousness, allowing consciousness to advance on its own accord without controls, creating a city state that was of the highest vibrational consciousness and leaving that so that it could carry forward.
Mm.
So just like I did 20 years in the secret space program, there will be 20-year periods in the Galactic Council. So our age regression is at our choosing. Our age can be pretty much anything that we want it to be on the other levels, the secret space program. That can be controlled. And I wouldn't say manipulated, but guided. There's different there's consciousness, there's medications and so forth that keep our bodies at a lower age range. But as we move up in the consciousness field, like I would in the Galactic Council, then that control of the age has to be let go to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
because of the vibrational energies that come actually with a more advanced aged body.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be, as I move into that, many lifetimes, I guess we could say. I could be in the Galactic Council for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's staggering to comprehend too.
Yes. So a couple things are coming. One is three things. I'm making notes here. Okay, I want to just say again, because it's just really hitting me so strongly. You know, unlike this realm of existence, 21st century, most of our political leaders have never been in active duty battle or war. Very few of them. And so just the concept of those who would sit on as the head of state or the head of a galaxy to be ones who have been the most challenged to hold love when someone is directing evil or hate at you, and for you to hold that level of love, that's the greatest power in the universe. And so it would make sense that someone who's followed your evolution, who's followed your path, to be seated on such a council. Because
very great responsibility. Like I said, when I first go into it, I will be like a baby, but over time I'll learn the process. I'll learn how to lead. But yes, having the background, the love development, it doesn't always come with combat, but it does come quite often with the combat.
Mm-hmm. Right. I don't sense that everyone on the council has been a warrior, but it would make sense to have many of them on there for that reason. The other thing I'm seeing that's really interesting, and it's coming to me like why the body would now age, is if you see older people, when they get much older, we stop almost knowing at first if the hair was cut a certain way, whether the person is male or female. And my sense is that sometimes when I've seen angels or guides, the highest, most evolved ones are androgynous. You know, they have features both of the male and the female. So I'm almost wondering if there's something with that, because as you would age to, you know, 60, 70, I mean, on some level, there's something about that. Maybe the body allowing more of the male and female energies to integrate. So that's just something that was coming in. I'm not sure if that resonates with you in any way, but
that is one of the main reasons the masculine and the feminine, it reaches a higher level of connection as far as like connecting with the higher vibrational frequencies of all the connection with source is much stronger once you move to those levels of aging, of consciousness. So that the fierceness that you need at the 35 and 40 degree age level for combat is not needed as you move in that level advancement of age. So it's easier for the oneness, the connection to come through at the higher levels of advancement in age. So that's why you must allow yourself to move up in the age range. The hormonal balance and so forth are all keys to moving up. And yes, the many actually on the Galactic Council are former military, because you will be tasked with sending possibly many souls, many beings, because it's not just humans that are going into some of these battles, but the Galactic Council is also not all human. There are many different alien beings that are on that council. But having the higher age range is also a mark of distinction, that if you don't have that badge, if you haven't advanced to that age, you're often not accepted into the Galactic Council.
Mm-hmm. The other idea that came to me was for your incarnation as Constantine at the peak of his advancement and knowledge. What message does he have for Michael Jaco in your fulfillment of your soul purpose in this incarnation, and as a future position on the Galactic Council? What messages does he have?
Don't get so wrapped up in your decisions. You know the level of consciousness that humanity needs to go to. Some of the things that you're going to share will not resonate with lower consciousness beings. You cannot get trapped into trying to appease them. You have to take your knowledge of higher consciousness and set that anchor, set that stone, set that foundation, and continue to build on it and trust in it. If you don't, then you'll never reach the full potential that you have of all the lifetimes that have come through, of all the information that you have worked so hard to attain, of all the levels of consciousness that you've helped others attain over many, many lifetimes. Having that knowledge, now is the time to implement it. Now is not the time to hesitate.
Yeah. Agreed. There are many teaching more basic levels of advancing consciousness, but fewer teaching advanced consciousness to souls who are ready for it. And does Constantine have a message for you as you would enter into, at whatever timing you choose, enter into your position on the Galactic Council?
Part of the reason why you're being chosen for the Galactic Council is because of your former lifetimes in leadership roles at a very high level. These leadership roles often come with incredible levels of people trying to tear you down, family members trying to kill you. Many people think that on these higher levels that life is just beautiful and you have all your wishes taken care of. But the level of difficulty as you advance is even more challenging. You take on roles that everyone wants. Everyone wants to pull you down. Everyone wants to undermine you. As you move into the Galactic Council, you will not experience that. You will be surrounded by people that are of like mind, that want you to advance.
Wow. That's profound and beautiful. Are there other aspects of the secret space program or your experience with alien races that would be helpful for you to be shown or told about today?
Just sharing that the alien races are very similar to us. Some of them are not advanced and have warring against each other, just as we see here on Earth. And some are very advanced and don't war at all. There's no war whatsoever on some planets. So judging aliens as being threatening is a wrong type of consciousness. Being accepting of another race as you would a race here on Earth, being accepted of a different color, whether it be black, brown. This is the same as it is in space. You are accepting of other beings, whether they be completely different from the way you look or very similar to the way you look, but have a different type of upbringing because they have, achieved their consciousness levels on a planet that would be completely foreign to what we have experienced. So don't be judgmental of the alien races. Many of them are very, very advanced and very beautiful in consciousness. And the willingness of them to share their information with us is very important going forward. So not being in those levels of fear, getting rid of that fear and being ready to accept different alien races, that's a challenge going forward for them to come forward to present themselves to us. First, it will be alien races that are extremely similar to us, and then eventually the different races, the insectoids, the reptilians, the beings that have two heads, the beings that have all kinds of different shape and bodies that we would find abhorrent if we looked at them now. But the thing to focus on is the consciousness of the being itself. And don't get caught up in looks, because looks are, deceiving. Even here on Earth, someone that's extremely beautiful can be extremely evil. Someone that's extremely misshapen to us as an alien could have the most beautiful consciousness that we could ever comprehend. So don't be a judge of the alien races as they start to come forward.
Wow, I love that. And I love how you use the term misshapen. Then there's no such thing as ugly. That's so powerful and beautiful. It strikes me that I'm wondering if everything going on in the news now with the race wars, and it's pushing us to accept our own differences. It seems like it would need to happen before we could possibly embrace or be open to other alien races coming forward and accepting them. So is this
Excellent.
current?
Very, very, very good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we look at the things that are happening now, and it seems abhorrent to us. But as the energies, the galactic energies start to increase, then those of the negative persuasion will reveal themselves with even more negativity. And those of the good, positive persuasion will continue to do even more good things. So this will reveal itself. The split will happen. And often what happens in these things as we have observed in many cultures throughout the galaxy is that as these negative forces are overcome, they're easily filled in with the light, with positive forces. So don't have any misgivings about, what's coming. There will be a lot of violence in the future. This is the way these things work out. But it will be an alerting, it will be a wake-up call for those that are still asleep to their goodness, to their greatness. They have allowed others to rule their lives for so long that now when they have to awaken to take charge of their own lives, to advance their own consciousness, it's going to be foreign to them at first, but it will come.
Yeah, so I think, what I hear you saying is some of the things that we are labeling as bad happening right now in society are part of the offering, the opportunities for us to grow individually and as a collective in our evolution, and to, again, like a warrior would against an opponent, to meet that energy with love instead of hatred and judgment.
Exactly.
Is everyone, when they talk about parallel lives, is it only souls who are like super soldiers, or like someone like me who's signed up to be a healer or a facilitator? I mean, is it true that everyone is experiencing split consciousness in multiple lives or parallel lives or lives overlapping, or does our soul choose that as
Our soul chooses that. Like even in the secret space program, I know of other, I have incarnated. I have more souls in the secret space program, more spirits, I would say. So there are other bodies that are already in the secret space program that are behind me. So once you start to understand that, once you start to know that your consciousness can be all over the place, you become more accepting of the consciousness of other people that are doing the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it speaks to this idea that people believe if someone's doing bad things that they're like an unevolved soul, but I think sometimes those souls are just electing to play a role for the collective advancement. And they may be living another life where they're doing something benevolent,
Exactly. And by taking on these very challenging roles to help advance the negative consciousness, then they can actually help advance consciousness at a quicker rate as well. So there were times where I incarnated into different soul beings of aliens, reptilians, and Anunnaki, and so forth. And by being in these other beings, I understood them more. And this is on different levels. So by understanding them more, I can help stop wars with them, to understand them more. I can help to, help them understand that we're not a threat to them, to speak their language more, to understand the way that they think, and help some of them while I'm in that consciousness start to become less evil, have less of the hatred and the anger toward other races, toward other alien races, and so forth. It's a very challenging role to take that, because you come into that vibration and you're of a loving vibration in an evil body, and it's very, very challenging. And
Wow.
You're surrounded by evil, and trying to project that better consciousness is very tough. We do that now. Many of us that have come into incarnation now are doing that by trying to inform others. And so at some point, it does take a warrior to do this, because people will attack you. So as a warrior, you're used to being attacked. You're used to people trying to tear you down, to kill you. And by having this background, it's easier for you to move up that scale of consciousness and help others. So yes, we'll sometimes incarnate into other life forms, into negative beings, just so we can have that experience to understanding, and also to help them evolve.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And it makes sense. Know thy enemy. But also, to defeat that malevolent way of being, you would have to best have experienced it first, or in some previous incarnation. So that would make sense. Would that also explain, I've met some people who really struggle between the dark and the light in this lifetime. Like, they've been born into situations where they might be born into a situation of their family or their neighborhood or their community. It's very, they're pulled into a life of crime or violence, and yet they're knowing inside, and they have this battle between whether they are evil or whether they are dark, whether they're of the light, because they've done both. They've done bad things in this life, and now they're trying to be, bringing light, or, doing Reiki or something, and they feel conflicted.
Yes, the challenge is to overcome negative things that we've done to lessen our karma. And by doing good things after having done bad, you can fix that karma. Just like in the lifetime of Constantine, having killed many in battle, having ordered the destruction, having ordered the deaths of many, to overcome that karma, he created religious cohesion. He created a new, basically, civilization that started in Constantinople, where art and consciousness and studies, science, all advanced to an incredible level, and eventually would help fuel the Renaissance. When Rome slipped into the Dark Age, it was because of Constantine's foresight that he saw that level of consciousness was going to slip, was going to go dark, that he created Constantinople to hold those energies and then eventually bring it back. It's the same thing that happened with the secret space program. When Atlantis and Lemuria saw that they were going to descend, when they were going to be destructed, they sent many of their implements, many of their higher technologies to Antarctica. And there are actually groups that live there, that have been living there for since that time frame, for thousands of years, that have kept that information sacred, have kept it quiet until it was time to reveal it again. And on the dark side of the moon, there were implements, information that was left there on the moons that surround Jupiter, that surround Saturn. There were bases there that held information, technologies that awaited the awakening of consciousness to read the renaissance in consciousness that would happen to humankind, so they would be ready for them once it happened. So the same thing happened with Constantine. He built a lot of negative karma, but he was able to overcome that negative karma and keep his consciousness at a high level because he did good at the end of his reign.
Wow. That's fascinating. To speak to the destruction of Atlantis and Lemuria, when I've done past life regression on another, there was talk of massive, huge monolithic size crystals that were the energy sources, maybe broadcasts for telepathic messages. But what is your knowledge of the corruption, or what happened to bring those civilizations down?
Just like it's happened here in our consciousness, and it's trying to happen once again, the dark energies, the dark consciousness exerted itself and took over those positive energies. Those energies, like we're talking about, the crystalline structures, the pyramids, all of the different structures that were used to send energies and keep consciousness high, were corrupted by the dark side. So they took over those energies and started to manipulate them, and that was one of the reasons the destructions happened. So now we're doing it in reverse. So the dark energies that have been manipulating and controlling Earth for so many thousands of years are now about to be overturned by the good again.
Yay. Okay. So I'd like to segue it into you asking if there's anything else that would be helpful for you to be shown or know about today, again, helping you in your path forward as a teacher and for your own soul evolution.
To keep this level of consciousness that we are in, that you've brought out in me right now, is very valuable. So being able to tap into this, just as I was when I did the past life regressions, this energy is on a different level now. Being able to tap into this going forward, this is one of the things that will be very valuable, and to connect with it. So having my consciousness anchor in at this moment and be able to tap into it at will with a thought, as I have on past lifetimes, would be extremely valuable now.
Yeah.
And not just for myself, but for much of humanity, and for the revealing of the alien races and the secret space program, which will eventually be able to be combined, and more people will be involved in it. And this is what President Trump has done with the Space Force. He is readying the connection to the secret space program.
Okay. Is there anything else you sense? I was going to have us just talk after I stop the recording, but is there anything else you sense needs to come forward for this session to feel complete to you?
No, I feel at this time I'm very complete. I have a deeper connection. Before there was a doubt about this information. Now that doubt has completely gone away. And as I move forward, I'll be able to connect with it more and be able to bring this information, this knowledge, into my teachings as well. It's been a good session. Thank you.
Thanks.